Alright, welcome back guys to game number 3, the deciding game in the best of 3 here between Hyvaa and Argo, aka Jaehoon. Starting to the bottom right of Belcher Vestige, we have our Zerg player in blue. This is of course Hyvaa. He was able to clench out a victory on Whirlwind. And his opponent is starting to the top left of the two-player map. This is Jaehoon, aka Argo. Jaehoon, of course, being his real name, changed his ID. He was able to win on Daybreak, and the winner of this match is going to advance to the third round of the WCS Challenger League Qualifier. The loser will have to try next season.
Yep, certainly true, and you know, this is a very important season because it's the very first one in our new WCS system. And these Kesper players have been trying multiple qualifiers and not quite able to do it just yet. Argo is someone who's won a lot of games in Pro League and StarCraft 2 already. Hyvaa, much more known, I feel, for his StarCraft 1 career, but he's making a name for himself in StarCraft 2 already.
Well, with the probe now going in, I want to give a quick shout out to Moonglade, who's currently watching the stream, and also a shout out to all the Australians who are tuned in. You guys have a beautiful country. You should travel a little bit more within your own country. All the Australians that I've met didn't really travel throughout Australia. But yeah, I love Australia. I've been there for a long time. Love Melbourne especially. Sorry, Sydney. But yeah, shout out to all the Australians and Moonglade in particular.
When you say sorry, Sydney, I feel like you're talking to a person named Sydney, because I had two different friends named Sydney.
No, it's just like they have this kind of a rivalry going on, and I spent most of my time in Melbourne, and I really loved it there. So when I came to Sydney, I was of course a little bit, I hate Sydney, I've never been here, and it's probably going to be awesome, but I have to hate you because I'm a Melbourne person now.
Yeah, I understand the feelings of that. It's kind of like how I feel about Itaewon sometimes.
Yeah.
Here comes the Nexus for Jaehoon going down after the Forge. 4 links coming out as well, and no block on the hatch. The hatch goes down quite easily.
Yeah, we have the hatch now being placed down, and once again he's playing it safe here while the probe is still trying to screw up the mining of Hyvaa. But at this point it's all just going back into this style that we've seen in games 1 and 2 already, trying to go for the third base for Hyvaa. He will send out another drone very, very soon, whereas Jaehoon, on the other hand, aka Argo, is just trying to set up his wall. This is actually one of the walls that is very, very fragile. I've seen more than only one Zerg player go for an aggressive Baneling Bust on a map like this, which is something that you're always very reluctant to do against Protoss, because force fields can completely shut you out.
Yeah.
But a wall like this is always tempting.
It's just asking for it.
Yeah.
And takes the fast third base instead, but he could still put some aggression on with roaches early on.
It's not even Argo's fault, it's just such a huge distance here that you have to cover. There will be several weak spots in the wall, and therefore it's always a little bit of a problem.
Yeah.
But
sure.
This is of course something that we don't expect to happen.
Yeah, especially because this is the third game and the deciding game. You don't want to risk everything on a Baneling Bust when you're going to decide whether or not you advance to the your first advancement in the qualifiers. You don't want to risk that.
Yeah. To the bottom left of the map, we currently see the third base being built by Hyvaa, and this is something that Jaehoon wanted to find out. So Argo is in the know that his opponent is going for this third base once again. Well, he is getting his own cybernetics core up now. And well, right now everything is of course centered around the scouting information once again. In the main base of Argo, we have a lot of gas being taken. Didn't take, meaning 3 in 2, so he doesn't have the 2 into gas style. And we have no extractor just now, or no assimilator taking at the nutshell so far.
Yeah. And he could go Stargate 3 for 3. I would not be surprised. He seems to be most comfortable with that style. Went into a faster Robo last game, but that didn't seem to change things too much. Once this Overlord leaves, he's going to show his tech. Probably going to make it at the main base, but he doesn't have a pylon behind his main actually, so he has to wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, either has to wait for exactly. Either has to wait for this pylon, or he has to build it down at the natural, which is a little bit unlikely, given that he's assuming there will be Overlords, and they are already on their way. So the pylon in the main base is done, and here comes the Stargate. Waits a little bit, delays his Stargate, but here it is.
Yep, smart choice though, to go for that, and you know, at the main base that is.
We right now have 3 queens already. Harvester count is 39 to 38. What Hyvaa wants to do still is drone up at this point. We will very soon see if he is going into a Roach Warren, because as already pointed out, he didn't see the Stargate. And with the detection of the Stargate in game number 1, he decided to not build a Roach Warren but go straight into the Hydralisks. Without this information, he will most likely throw down the Roach Warren, and there it is already. Goes Roach Warren, goes Evolution Chamber shortly after he started his lair tech in the main base.
I can really respect the patience in Hyvaa's play and how well he attempts to scout, and if he doesn't see anything, he just does a catch-all build. I expect that he will start 3 spores just like last game very soon as well, even though he doesn't know. And he just plays this comfortable style where he doesn't leave anything up to chance, and that's something that's really respectable, because sometimes you see players cut things out of their build because they're trying to, you know, have those 3 extra drones instead of the spore crawlers, and then they just lose because of it, lose too many queens, take too much damage. And he starts 1 spore. We'll probably follow it up with a few more as well, because it's so safe to do this, and yeah, it definitely is.
His scouting pattern is also very interesting. He has overlords and zerglings everywhere. He just has the perfect scouting information on the map. He's getting those 3 spore crawlers that you were talking about, and they are of course not only important against phoenixes, but they're also helpful against Dark Templars. In an age where we have so many Dark Shrines coming out from Protoss because they realize, hey, it's so much cheaper, especially in gas, it's something that I can pull off, and even if I don't do too much damage, and not as far behind as I was in Wings of Liberty. In such an age, you have to be careful against ETs.
Yeah, definitely true. Even in the late game, they can be a possibility. Speaking of Twilight tech, we have the Twilight Council going down now as well. This is, of course, mostly so you can get +2 and Blink research out, but still a very useful tech to have. And he's scouting with the Phoenixes really well here, but Hyvaa, being so safe, is not going to take a lot of damage. He's even pulled his Overlords for the most part back. And
his Hydralisks are nearly ready, so I wouldn't be surprised if this time Jaehoon can do too much damage. It really looks like with now the speed upgrade, with all the Hydralisks and everything coming in, this is one of the games where Hyvaa is a lot more safe than he was in game 1. It actually looked in the game on Daybreak a little bit like he was, I don't know, a bit caught off guard. I don't know how to other way express it, because he scouted everything, but that's kind of how it looked. Small
nice
attempt to just go in there, but you can see that everything is completely tight, so no chance for Hyvaa to actually do damage. +1 attack upgrade, +2 attack upgrade is actually now coming up, while the Phoenixes are still trying to go in and do a bit of damage here.
Yeah, he's picking off the drones. All 3 of those drones actually had 4 gas in their claws, so 12 gas just lost to the void now, never going to be earned by anyone again.
4th base coming up here for Hyvaa, who's doing quite a decent job with the creep spread. He already connected creep to his 4th base, and this is one of the maps where you will usually see a lot of Hydralisk and Viper play, but with the tech choice that we saw from Jaehoon going straight into the Stargate instead of anything else, we need once again to have the Spire out here. I'm pretty sure that if that wasn't the case, if Jaehoon would have decided to go into Colossi tech, we might have seen the Infestation Pit instead, but right now what we see is the attempt to get Corruptors into the picture, and also an attempt to take down the 3rd base.
It's a really nice attack. He has enough Hydras here, he can push this back, he knows there's no Colossi. The Zealots here are going to have a hard time, and the Lings coming from the perfect angle, picking off those Stalkers, even may get that Immortal.
Finally, the Phoenixes are there, and they immediately take down those Hydras, lifting them and doing extra damage against the light armored units. But still, a lot of units lost here for Argo. He's losing all those gas-intensive units. Not a single sentry left.
Yeah, keeping those Immortals alive is critical, but now, knowing there's no Colossi, and he would have had a Colossus walking into this army by now if he had the Colossus tech at all, so Hyvaa, knowing this, makes more Hydras. He's like, well, you clearly don't have Colossi right now, I'm going to make more Hydras, starts 14 of them. Such a smart choice. His +2 is coming along nicely, but Argo has +2 finishing up now as well, along with Blink, and 4 more gates going down. He could try to hit an aggressive timing.
I think he would.
But, you know, it's not necessarily going to be the case 100%, but he certainly could.
Well, the one thing that he can't do is move out and do damage, because against the Hydralist and the composition that we have from Hyvaa, there is no way you're going to break that with gateway units alone. You need a couple of either Colossi
or High
to
Templar.
back you up, or High Templar, exactly, the Storm upgrade, but he doesn't have that. So moving out here would be suicidal, and Hyvaa knows this. He just has to build more Hydralisks here, and he can also safely tech into Hive Tech if he wants to, but he's putting on the aggression right now. He wants to finish this.
Not a lot of sentries left, as you said before, many of them taken out in the last fight. The Immortals targeted down by the Hydras. This is looking really bad for Jaehoon here.
Oh, he's losing way too much. All of those Immortals are already gone, and now the sentries, the few that he had, they are dead. Only Stalkers left, and more Hydralisks are moving in.
They're streaming in here. Stalkers falling like mad, and yes, he will push the attack back. But this is such a better trade for Hyvaa, who now has reinforcements streaming across the map. He just wants to get that next wave of Lings and Hydras across. Once he does, he's just going to hit this attack. He's been using that 4th base mostly just as a macro hatchery, not even really mining from it very much.
Army supply heavily in favor of Hydra. Look at this, of Hyvaa, of course. 74 against 33. The 3rd base once again being assaulted. And here come those few puny units that Jaehoon aka Argo has now to defend. But Lings, they are everywhere.
There's way too many of them. No Colossi still. Probes fighting against Hydras. That's where Hydras really excel. And he will lift some of these up and stave off the attack once more. But the trade just gets better and better. Hyvaa does have to make sure he doesn't overextend here. He needs to kind of consolidate his forces. Now he does it. Comes in from 2 different angles. The Stalkers having +2, but still, it's just not enough.
Yeah, in the end, this is a game where Jaehoon will most likely not be able to defend. He's trying, though, and he's always picking off a few units, but we have Hyvaa just with reinforcements moving across the map. He's also going into the +1 armor upgrade now that he completed +2 attack, constantly reproducing army, and he's even starting to saturate the space to the left side of the map, building drones, so he's not neglecting his macro here.
Yeah, he's definitely not, and I think, I mean, as long as he... I really like to see him just wait for another wave of units before he goes to attack to just make sure he can hold this or kill this no matter what. Because the army of Argo is starting to stabilize a little bit here. He has to be very careful. I like that he keeps corrupting the robotics to slow down the Immortals. There's no reason not to. Or contaminating, excuse me, not corrupting.
Yep, that's something that I did several times already. We have now even a macro edge coming down for Hyvaa. The +1 armor upgrade is not done just yet. And Argo so far really stabilized, but look at the creep spread. It really nearly reached the natural of Argo. And now this huge army is going to move in, and we still don't have area of effect damage for the Protoss player.
Yeah, this is exactly what I mean. Wait until you have this massive army that's all consolidated, go in, do that damage. Sentries are going to be helpful. They're going to force shield a little bit off here, but the damage output of the Hydras is insane. The Lings already inside.
The creep spread is decent, helps them of course to reinforce, but on the other hand those force fields are not too shabby either. Shutting out most of the army. The Hydra is doing a lot of damage though in the next wave of force field. Is it good enough to hold this army at bay?
It looks like he's running out of energy now. The Stalkers blink back. They're trading okay here. And he may stabilize again, but the next wave of Lings comes to the left side, and he only has so many blinks, Khaldor.
And he's moving back right now, Hyvaa that is, but he's still in the lead. But Jaehoon is actually doing a much better job than I thought he would be able to pull off. So far, Hyvaa is the one putting on the aggression and just sending force after force over to the top right. But this barrage of attacks has been defended by Argo. He is still holding.
But it's taken its toll, and he will run out of resources eventually. And that's something to consider because there's no map control, there's no map presence at all for Argo. This is his first presence. This is the first time he can walk onto that creep even for just a second. But I think it's time for Hyvaa to add that Visitation Pit and get ready for
Exactly.
Hive.
I completely agree with you here. He should, at this point, realize that, yes, he might be able to take down Argo, but he still wants to go into Hive Tech, wants to get access to the +3/+3 upgrades for armor, for, of course, also attack, and then just unlock the Viper. He wants to have the Viper here for the Blinding Cloud, and later on, if there are Colossi, you also need the skill to just pull them into the Hydra range.
That would be ideal. And Argo, you know, he's near max, and if he can get that one max out composition to walk across the map, maybe he can take this game, and that's what Jaehoon needs to be preparing for, but he's just not teching. He refuses. He gets +2 armor, but all he's adding now is more and more attacking units. He's up to 80 drones, so he certainly could afford the tech. He has 43 Hydras. I don't think I've ever seen that many Hydras in one game before.
Yeah, it's actually a little bit insane here. The one thing that Jaehoon has to think about is that at some point he will need another base if he wants to keep this up, and this is not going to be an easy feat for him, especially not with this entire army of Hyvaa just roaming the map and looking for prey. So he's moving out right now, Argo that is, and here comes the Infestation Pit finally, but at the same time the Protoss already has to move out, and here come those force fields. Hyvaa can't just wait and let him come, and the Protoss player has to move in at some point.
It's a great concave for Hyvaa now though, and Jaehoon has to back up, pulls his Lings back, just continuing to get into the better position, starts up microing his Hydras forward, baiting out those force fields and waiting and remaxing.
Baiting the force fields, making sure that the sentries have very little energy left, to send them out later, those force fields. He needs them. That's the one skill that Argo is really depending on right now. But with his creep spread even getting better, more and more upgrades being researched for Hyvaa, the infestation pit done, the hive tech now suddenly unlocked. There is just so much that Hyvaa can do. But Jaehoon at least was able to just close the gap in supply. They are both at 188.
The thing is, normally in this case you have one timing to hit, and then you have to leave the game after it fails, but he doesn't have any Colossi, so attacking an army composition that's mostly better than his, it's going to be so hard to do. And now he's stuck in an awkward position where he can't get a concave. The Lings come in, the Hydra's trying to do their damage. Good force fields though.
I really have to say that both of them are controlling the army so well. Hyvaa, after he realized that he has to take this game a little bit more serious than he did in the mid-game, is now suddenly taking his battles much better, and he's going for a Mutalisk transition that we pointed out earlier. This will enable him to hit two fronts at once, but suddenly he's moving in again. He's trying to close this, but oh my god, Argo with a blink forward!
Argo blinks forward. He's trading decently well against the Hydras, but the bank of Hyvaa is at this point is just so good that he can remax almost instantly. But that was the best engagement he could have hoped for, and he's also starting to kill some of these Harvesters. He needs to go for a counterattack very soon. I don't think taking a fourth base is going to be an option. Now he sees those very important and very dangerous Mutalisks as well.
The Mutalisks just have been revealed, and yeah, Hyvaa is going for more and more. We have one Phoenix build. This is actually, I don't know,
it's weird.
This is not a StarCraft Phoenix. This is not gonna help.
Yeah, this Phoenix is gonna look a little bit lonely.
Very lonely. The Phoenix is actually, well, he has to deal with all those Mutalisks, but the problem for the Zerg player is that his base is attacked to the left side of the map. We have the entire ground force for Argo moving in. Hyvaa is getting more and more spine crawlers now. He's building them to defend his bases, and he is hitting with Mutalisks, and this is a tech switch that Argo just can't beat.
GG.
Therefore, Hyvaa with a 2-1 in the best of 3 advances to the next round of the WCS Challenger League Qualifier. Congratulations, and see you in the next round.